China faces new wave of COVID-19 as netizens report rising cases and sudden collapses. China Evergrande's EV units enter bankruptcy and reorganization. China's marriage registrations hit a record low in the first half of the year. Chinese exodus, growing numbers move to Malaysia for study and investment. Cambodia begins construction on controversial China-funded canal. It's all covered in today's China Truths. China faces new wave of COVID-19 as netizens report rising cases and sudden collapses. In a concerning development, a fresh wave of COVID-19 infections is sweeping across China, as many citizens report being reinfected. Since late July, social media platforms have been flooded with complaints from users who say they have once again tested positive for the virus. Reports are pouring in from across the country, with people experiencing a range of symptoms, including loss of taste, severe body aches, persistent fevers, and debilitating coughs. In Shanghai, a respiratory specialist recently revealed that several new COVID-19 cases have been identified at fever clinics. Today, we confirmed another positive case. Everyone should remain vigilant, the doctor advised. The situation has prompted even state media in Jiangsu province to acknowledge the surge in cases, noting that the virus is not limited to isolated incidents. Their report highlighted a worrying trend, with people describing symptoms like difficulty swallowing, fever, and extreme fatigue. Home testing kits are consistently showing positive results, indicating a significant uptick in infections since July. The Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, recently identified a new variant called XDV, a sublineage of the JN.1 variant, though they claim it shows no significant differences in transmission or severity compared to JN.1. Despite official statements, reports from the public paint a different picture, indicating a potentially dangerous situation. Mr. Li from Jiangxi shared with the Epoch Times that many young people in their 20s and 30s are experiencing recurring symptoms, including loss of smell and taste, fever, and persistent coughs. He said, "The symptoms linger for a long time, and I've personally lost several classmates and colleagues this year," expressing concern about possible links to the pandemic. Mr. Liu from Qingdao, Shandong, echoed these sentiments, noting that a decrease in immunity may be contributing to the rise in cases. He said, "In one village, it is quite normal to see 4 or 5 sudden deaths. Many people experience sudden cerebral or myocardial infarctions without warning, affecting both middle-aged and young individuals." Mr. Wang from Chengdu, Sichuan, reported that the elderly and children are most affected, with many showing repeated cold and fever symptoms. He recounted the tragic story of a friend in his 50s who suddenly passed away at work from a stroke. Mr. Liu from Shanghai shared, "Recently, the wife of a good friend of mine suddenly collapsed and passed away. Another friend collapsed while having lunch at work. An elderly lady also passed away suddenly. It might be related to COVID-19 or post-vaccine issues. The authorities do not acknowledge this, and doctors don't mention it, always attributing it to the individual's health problems." Finally, Mr. Li in Beijing observed a worrying trend of unexplained angina, coughing, and sudden colds, even with minimal physical exertion. As these reports continue to surface, the situation in China remains critical, with many citizens calling for greater transparency and action from authorities. China Evergrande's EV units enter bankruptcy and reorganization. In a major development, China Evergrande new energy vehicle announced on August 5 that a local court has ordered 2 of its units to enter bankruptcy and reorganization proceedings. This decision comes just a week after individual creditors filed for such actions against the units. On July 29, the shares of the electric vehicle maker took a significant hit, plummeting 7%, following the move by individual creditors of Evergrande new energy vehicle, Guangdong, and Evergrande Smart Automotive, Guangdong, to seek court approval for bankruptcy proceedings. The company confirmed that a court hearing took place on August 2, leading to the court's decision to initiate the bankruptcy and reorganization process for the affected units. This move marks a critical point for China Evergrande Group, the embattled real estate developer. In May, liquidators of China Evergrande, the parent company holding a 58.5% stake in its EV unit, announced that they were in negotiations with a third-party buyer to sell a 29% stake in the EV group. The deal includes an option to sell the remaining shares within a specified time frame. Such a deal could enhance the possibility of securing a new credit line to sustain production efforts. China's marriage registrations hit a record low in the first half of the year. As political and economic conditions worsen, an increasing number of young Chinese are opting out of marriage. According to the latest official data from the Chinese Communist Party, only 3.43 million couples registered to marry in the first 6 months of this year, representing a significant 12.7% drop compared to the same period last year. This sharp decline has sparked widespread debate and concern. Many Chinese netizens attribute the drop to the challenging economic climate, with job scarcity and mounting financial pressures making marriage seem unattainable or undesirable. Historian Li Yuanhua, speaking from Macau, noted, "The cost of getting married is very high, and fear of marriage is an issue. Social instability and economic downturns are also significant reasons. Besides the reluctance to marry, there might also be a population decrease, which is related to the pandemic. These factors combined have led to a significant year-on-year decrease in the number of people getting married." In rural China, the situation is particularly grim, with poverty leading to a rise in unmarried men. Mr. Wang, a resident of Shaanxi, said, "In rural areas, it's common. In our village and the neighboring one, there are many unmarried men in their 30s. The bride price is over 100,000 yuan, and some require a car and a house. If you need a house, it's like the sky is falling. It's not just a little money. Farmers have it tough, they really do." Mr. Khan, from northeast China, added, "Our village is quite large, with nearly 4,000 households. In our group alone, which has over 100 households, there are at least 30 or 40 bachelors. For rural families, marrying a wife costs at least 200 to 300,000 yuan, about 28 to 42,000 US dollars, if a house isn't required. The parents have no other income and live off farming, so they really can't afford it." Back in 2013, China saw 13.47 million couples tying the knot, but the numbers have been steadily declining. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, by 2022, 51.3% of individuals aged 25 to 29 and 18.4% of those aged 30 to 34 remained unmarried. Critics argue that the real figures may be higher, given the CCP's tendency to alter data. With fewer people marrying and having children, China's population imbalance is becoming increasingly pronounced. Historian Li Yuanhua commented, "The population has been rapidly decreasing in recent years, and aging is starting to become a problem. Currently, the birth rate is extremely low, which will directly affect the future availability of labor. In fact, the Chinese Communist Party is already panicking." Analysts also suggest that the stringent lockdowns imposed by the CCP during the 3-year pandemic have further dampened public sentiment towards marriage and relationships. Chinese exodus, growing numbers moved to Malaysia for study and investment. In the wake of 3 years under China's strict zero-COVID policy, a significant exodus is underway as Chinese citizens seek opportunities abroad. Wealthier individuals are migrating to Western countries, while those with more modest incomes are turning their sights towards neighboring Southeast Asian nations, notably Malaysia. The latest figures reveal that the number of Chinese citizens residing in Malaysia has nearly doubled over the past 3 years, driven by an influx of students and investors. Zhao Chaobing, director of the Institute of China Studies at the University of Malaya, told the Financial Times that Malaysia's Chinese population could now easily reach 150,000, possibly climbing to 200,000, up from around 82,000 in 2022. He called this a very conservative estimate. China's ongoing real estate crisis continues to erode middle-class wealth, burden local governments with debt, and keep youth unemployment high. Earlier this year, the International Monetary Fund warned of high uncertainty facing China due to these real estate woes. As a result, middle-class families are losing confidence in domestic investments, prompting many to seek opportunities abroad. Adding to this trend is the increasing regulatory pressure from the Chinese government, which has led to a rise in outbound migration. Concerns over falling into the authorities' common prosperity trap are prompting many Chinese to discreetly move substantial sums of cash overseas. According to an August 5 report by the Financial Times, universities and international schools in Malaysia are witnessing a surge in demand. The Malaysian Ministry of Education reported enrolling 44,043 Chinese students last year, a 35% jump from 2021. Research by the Financial Times further indicates that the number of Chinese students in international schools has more than doubled from 2021 to 2023. Malaysia is also becoming a business hub for Chinese entrepreneurs. A Chinese trade official disclosed that approximately 45,000 Chinese business owners, managers, and workers are now in Malaysia, a significant increase from the estimated 10,000 in 2021. A representative from the Malaysia-China Chamber of Commerce said, "New arrivals are a weekly occurrence." He highlighted that suppliers in the electronics and electric vehicle sectors are expanding operations outside China to circumvent U.S. tariffs. Another official noted a growing number of entrepreneurs exporting durians to China. The My Second Home program in Malaysia is experiencing a boom, with over 56,000 Chinese immigrants now holding long-stay visas, more than doubling last year's numbers. Having endured strict pandemic controls for 3 years, young Chinese are increasingly choosing to relocate overseas. In addition to Malaysia, Thailand has become a favored destination. Social media platform Zaya Hongshu is abuzz with stories of individuals opting to settle in Thailand. Many have secured student visas to study in Thailand, while also planning their next steps. In late October last year, the search term immigration to Thailand skyrocketed to over 300,000 in a single day. A recent report on June 18 highlighted that China had the highest number of high-net-worth individuals leaving the country globally in the past 2 years. It is projected that by 2024, a record 15,200 wealthy Chinese will leave the country, once again leading the world in outbound migration, adding further pressure to China's economy. Cambodia begins construction on controversial China-funded canal. Cambodia has officially broken ground on the highly debated Funan Techo Canal, a China-backed project set to link the capital city, Phnom Penh, to the sea. The construction began on Monday, despite concerns about environmental impacts and potential diplomatic tensions with neighboring Vietnam. The canal, costing $1.7 billion, will stretch 180 kilometers, connecting Phnom Penh with Kep Province on Cambodia's southern coast. This ambitious infrastructure aims to provide direct access to the Gulf of Thailand. The canal, designed to be 100 meters wide and 5.4 meters deep, is expected to lower shipping costs to Cambodia's only deep-sea port, Sihanoukville, and reduce the nation's dependence on Vietnamese ports. China's involvement in this project underscores its significant influence in Cambodia's political and economic landscape. However, there are ongoing concerns regarding the canal's environmental impact, particularly on the Mekong River, a crucial waterway supporting millions of people across 6 countries through its fisheries and agriculture. Vietnam has expressed worries over the canal's potential impact on its Mekong Delta rice production and Cambodia's geopolitical shift. Nguyen Kok Jong, an analyst at Singapore's Aziz Yusof Ishak Institute, emphasized Vietnam's concerns about both environmental and strategic implications. August 5, the date marking the project's commencement and also ex-Prime Minister Hun Sen's birthday, was declared a public holiday. Thousands of Cambodians, donning T-shirts featuring images of Hun Sen and his son, Prime Minister Hun Manet, gathered at the canal site adorned with Cambodian flags. Billboards promoting the canal's economic benefits were prominently displayed throughout the countryside. Analysts suggest that this infrastructure project is part of Cambodia's ruling elite's efforts to bolster support for Prime Minister Hun Manet, who assumed leadership last year, succeeding his father, Mr. Hun Sen, after 38 years in power. Prime Minister Hun Manet assured the public that the canal would be constructed by a joint venture of Chinese and Cambodian companies, with Cambodia holding a 51% majority share, thereby retaining control over the project. Deputy Prime Minister Sun Chanthol confirmed that the construction contract was awarded to China Road and Bridge Corporation, a major state-owned Chinese enterprise. the US-based Stimson Center has issued warnings about the canal's potential significant transboundary impacts on water availability and agricultural production in Vietnam's Mekong Delta, which is responsible for producing 90% of Vietnam's rice exports. Cambodia remains a vital diplomatic ally for China, often mitigating criticism of Beijing within the 10-member Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, where several countries, including Vietnam, are involved in territorial disputes with China over the South China Sea. China's substantial influence in Cambodia is evident in the numerous Chinese-funded projects, hotels, and casinos scattered across the country. Chinese state banks have financed many infrastructure developments, such as airports and roads, through loans. Notably, nearly 40% of Cambodia's over $11 billion in foreign debt is owed to China. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.